Guess I wanted to talk a little bit about nothing and talk a little bit about the idea of trying to use the word nothing in the same manner that you would use the word thing or use anything. Um, Nothing has been argued as being a part of the not operator, and the not operation is a different linguistic device than a name. But nothing seems to not only be non-demonstrable and non-empirical, it seems to be non-referential, but it is ostensible. And so we have ostensibility and we have hyperbole. So it appears that the idea of nothing, when it's used to speak about nothing as a clearing for something, to use the metaphor of clearing, or to say it's a space upon which something comes from or derives or arises. Already in the periphery of the metaphor of saying a clearing might be used to speak about um, different agricultural clearings. Um, but if one wants to speak of clearing, then in the periphery of the clearing there is a thing. And if one wants to say to clear a space, or the space makes way for a something, the space in the periphery is always outlined by a thing. And so, in a way, the metaphor of saying that nothing is a clearing is the same way of saying nothing is like a glove, and the glove makes room and makes space for the thing that is your hand. And it always seems to point back to a thing or thingliness, to the point where to speak of nothing seems to function only as ostensible, as something ostensible or something of a hyperbole. So to use it is kind of a probationary word, um, to say that nothing is real is already putting the word on probation. It's already to be able to precisely pinpoint certain metaphors that are going to um, allow it to take on the role of something that is equivocating it to itself. Like nothing is space, nothing is clearing, nothing is nothing, nothing is no thing, right? And to say no thing is real is kind of the antithesis of saying thing. Things are real. The antithesis of thing, no thing, is not real. It's not empirical. It's not demonstrable. It's ostensible, and it's hyperbole. So, if one is to speak and want to introduce hyperbole as a serious philosophical inclusion in our discourse, then I'd want to speak of the horizon. Speak of the horizon where off in perspective we have vanishing points. And these points are based on parallel lines or binocular vision that scopes itself off into the distance, so much so that the space between the eyes, the space between the parallel lines, is brought to a singular point, but every time you approach the vanishing point, it widens itself and shows itself as a horizon. Something can be approached on a horizon. So at one point, the mirage was not seen, and then as you approached this area of heat, the mirage became clearer and clearer. The irony is that it is a mirage that becomes clearer and clearer. And so, if one wants to introduce hyperbole, then to speak about the cause of a symbol, the cause of seeing something as a vanishing point, would be akin to saying, my binocular vision has 2 points on one side and 1 point at the vanishing point, hence making a triangle, hence making the symbol of a triangle. So one might say that creating a triangle is denoting what it is that one is attempting to see, though is too far off to see, something that is hidden beyond the vanishing point. And I view this as something of an idealism not yet met. And so if one strives for idealism not yet met, then one might create an image or a symbol of a triangle in their mind to focus on this idealism. To say idealism is a triangle would be hyperbole. But if we're going to include that in, and why not, then this might allow us to start speaking about symbolic cause. If a triangle is to represent binocular vision and idealism not yet met, idealism strived for, striven for, towards, then why not talk about symbolic cause every time you see a triangle, to consider the hyperbolic meaning as being something wanting to be obtained that's not yet obtained. Why would this be important to speak about symbolic cause where our minds include hyperbole inside of its as part of, quote unquote, the equation of how it is we can look at things? One might start to see boxes and circles and spirals in whole different fashions than just simply flat, obtuse, empty of meaning, vacuous meaning, and start to ascribe meaning to these and start to include these in our discourse, include symbols in our discourse, repetitive symbols in our discourse, as having a type of shared meaning, or a type of meaning that, if the hyperbole was broken down, was looked at in a particular fashion, where we were supposed to take the esoteric notion that nothing is real and include it in our day-to-day rationale and our discourse, that one might also be able to see a triangle as idealism not yet met, as a spiral, as trying to balance one's vision, spinning and spinning, always attempting to find balance. One might see a circle as a plane on a horizon, as a totality of self, that one's whole vision, one's whole notion, one's whole consciousness, one's conclusion of absolutely every event in their life is found within the horizon lines of a circle, and that this circle is laid flat, and on it is a vanishing point. Within it, many, many infinitudes of shrika triangles trying to reach their limits and reach their ends and reach the inversions. Why not speak about symbolic cause? Why not speak about mysticism and the esoteric? Why not assume that the writers that speak about nothing are really speaking about something that is empirical but not demonstrable, something that is real but not experimental, something that is present? Why not assume that? Why not assume that perhaps the previous readings of certain authors, like Jung's Red Book, are not to be read in a way that is simplistic and rational, but is idealistic and has an overture of meaning that goes beyond the most acute obtuseness that our regular discourse, our YouTube discourse, seems to only allow.